Spanky Sharpstown, another SNL gathering. Those do not stop. So let's get your just overall reaction to what Nick Caserio had to say, what Nick Caserio didn't say.
He felt pretty optimistic to me. It sounded to me like Nick Caserio felt really good about the direction of the Houston Texans. He didn't seem super concerned about the situation they were in coming out of Sunday's loss. And I thought there was a lot of optimism and positivity from him on a variety of different pieces of the team, despite, Sunday feeling like a big gut punch. The general manager didn't go up there like he got punched in the gut. And so I think that was one of the things, because he didn't seem this optimistic and positive in the past to me. Like I know he was excited about, growth from those first couple of years with D'Amico Ryans, but it felt to me like he was a pretty positive and optimistic general manager. And he liked a lot of the stuff that they did and said as much and acted like they were going to keep it rolling in a couple of different departments.
I disagree. I think that he was overly positive to emphasize, I think, the main point and the main theme of the season. And that was that they put together a good enough roster around the quarterback. I think if you read between the lines of what he said about CJ Stroud and what he didn't say about CJ Stroud, I think it was about I think the positivity, I don't know that it's reflective of, okay, I feel great about the direction the organization is going. I think it's more so that I am going to overemphasize that I like the progress of the wide receivers. I like the progress of the offensive line, even like the tight end room, like the rookies, love the defense. D'Amico Ryans is the best guy that I've ever worked with. And I think that there's a little bit of a calculated, accurate, I will say, emphasis on everything else except the quarterback. So if you don't have a quarterback, I don't know if you're 100% confident in the direction. I just think Nick Caserio, and I think this is actually the truth this year. And you know that if I have to hammer Nick Caserio, whether it's in front of him or behind him or whatever, on the air, I will. But I don't look at this as him feeling good about the direction of the organization. I just look at this as the emphasis in reality that they put together a good enough roster this year. And the reason that he is at the podium instead of D'Amico Ryans talking about Sean Payton and Jared Stidham is simply because of the quarterback. Nothing more, nothing less.
I mean, he also went up there and said the quarterback has had a damn good year and played a good year of football. I mean, that's just not true.
Well, he also said that you can't, when asked about losing, he said you can't lose when it comes to the turnovers and all that. So I think you can kind of read between the lines. Like they obviously have to give CJ Stroud praise, but if you read between the lines of why they lost, what happened, all that, the fact that he was kind of defensive when the weapons around the quarterback were questioned, I think it is true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you that CJ Stroud's the reason we're sitting here talking about the offseason and not the AFC Championship game. And I just felt like the overall messaging from Cacerio was a pretty positive one.
Here's Nick Caserio talking about the body of work of CJ Stroud and how he felt about the way that stuff went down. And this is where it was a little bit interesting. But here was Cacerio talking about the team.
CJ had a really good season. He's done a lot of great things, done a lot of great things for his team, a lot of great things for this organization. I mean, anytime that you pass John Elway in terms of, what you've accomplished in a short period of time, I mean, like talk about like Hall of Fame quarterback. So CJ played good football this year. Honestly, it wasn't our best day as a team.
We know what that stat was. What did he pass Elway in?
I don't know. I was going to ask you. I just figured it was like assume like what did he pass John Elway in? What playoff like wins to start a career in 3 years or something like playoff wins?
I do not know anytime you pass, like I don't know what he did with John Elway. I don't know. It's damn sure not beers drank. Elway'd crush everybody in that category.
He mentioned it like it was like a common knowledge thing, and I just assumed that there was something there that happened with. I
mean, is Elway like? I don't know. At the beginning of his career, did he go to the playoffs 3 straight years and like win a playoff game each year? Like I don't know. I don't know what Elway's stat. I mean, I guess I could have asked around about this, but yeah, I don't know what the Elway stat is. I mean,
yeah, what did CJ pass John Elway on? A serious question. I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I don't know that that's necessarily a measure, like I measure CJ Stroud versus the current NFL. I don't care about how he looked up with, compared to John Elway in the 80s.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I just think that's crazy to even like put those two in the same sentence, quite frankly. But he was also asked about if he did enough on the offense, and this is what Cacerio had to say. I got it.
I mean, I'm not really sure the question. I'd say we had one of the best teams in the league. So, I mean, we went out there and competed with every team in the league that we played. So, I mean, I'm not sure like what the question is.
I can specify. The offense, according to their statistics, didn't take a huge jump offensively. And I'm wondering,
the most important statistic is winning games. So we want, that's what we're focused 100%,
on. But you lost in the divisional round again. You ultimately want to get farther. Do you feel like you could have done more to get to that point? Or were there circumstances that you felt were out of control?
We had a good enough team to win any game we played. In the end, we didn't execute well enough. You can't turn the ball over 5 times in a divisional playoff round.
I'm confused by like, do you think that Nick Caserio didn't do enough on the offensive side of the ball? Now, it wasn't like there were some misses for sure, but you watch this team, you cover this team, you saw what they did. Like, did you feel? Because if it was the case, I think we would definitely emphasize it like we have. But did you feel that there was anything like on the offensive side of the ball that Nick Caserio, like that should be the main?
They clearly had a plan for the offensive line that they wanted to go with, and it ended up working from an improvement from last year to this year standpoint. So that worked out. I don't know exactly when they were aware that Joe Mixon wasn't going to be an option. Obviously, by midseason at the trade deadline, they were aware that Mixon wasn't coming back. So if you wanted to be super critical about you didn't do something, I suppose you could say, hey, running back to go with Woody Marks at the trade deadline. But he overhauled the wide receiver room, which was a very difficult job because 2 of the 3 guys that they started 2024 counted on were not on the team in 2025. Diggs was on a different team and Dell wasn't playing. So he overhauled the wide receiver room, overhauled the offensive line, added an option at running back behind Joe Mixon that ultimately needed to be the main starter for the team. And they just ran out of time and adjustments for the tight ends. But even then, they got a good year out of Dalton Schultz. They seem pretty happy with Kate Stover. It's whatever, he's fine. But they got a good year out of Dalton Schultz. He had a record-setting year for the franchise. So, the fact that the thought that they didn't do anything on offense or they failed the quarterback is silly.
Well, I think it's interesting that Alexander was coming, and Alexander's my boy, but he's kind of grilling Nick. Where was that with CJ 2 days ago?
Whose stats were down? CJ's.
Yeah, like where was that with CJ 2 days ago? That would be my question on that. I think if this year, and I think all years are different. If this is a year where we're saying, and we can do it if we want, like this is big enough. I think this is big enough. I'll do it. I'll play devil's advocate. Yeah, this is heavy enough. This is a big enough cup of water. So I'll carry CJ Stroud water right now. I'll take on the task of people and carry the water. Let's say that there's not enough around CJ Stroud this year, and there wasn't enough for him to succeed. And let's say that the offensive line was bad, the receivers weren't good enough. Let's say that the offensive system wasn't good enough, and despite the fact that defense makes it to where you need to do less, let's just blame the surroundings and move the goalpost. Let's get a workout in and let's move the goalpost. If that's the case, then when push comes to shove and it's time to pay CJ Stroud, if that's what's necessary from a surrounding standpoint, like it needs to be somewhere in the Sam Darnold range of what you're going to pay him. It needs to be in like the Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones range of where you pay him. And if that's the case, then cool. Like if we're looking at a $20 to $30 million quarterback or something like that, awesome. I don't mind talking like this, but to act like, or even like hint that he didn't have enough to win games, I think is silly. I think it's absolutely crazy at this point. And I'll be the first to criticize Nick Caserio since he's come here. I'm the first to do it. I'm the first to praise. But if that's the case, then we're looking at like a $20 to $30 million quarterback with CJ Stroud, which would be fantastic. I just don't necessarily think that he thinks that's him, and I don't know that they think that's him. And here's the other thing that I want to emphasize. Like as we take like everything that Cacerio said, and that CJ has said, because CJ has really like made it a point to say, I used to have to do a lot, and now I got to realize that I don't have to do too much. And I like that it's not all on me. He said that multiple times. You recall, like, when he says it's not all on me, you can still be the main reason they lose. Like, that doesn't absolve you from perhaps being the main reason that they lose. So, like, that just because, that you can lean on the defense and all that, it doesn't mean that you can't, that it just eliminates the possibility of you being the main reason that they lost. And I think this year, the main reason that they lost was CJ Stroud. I think Nick Caserio knows that. And I think Nick Caserio, actually, when you talk about what he needed to set out to do this year, I think it was okay. It obviously needs to get better. And that's the goal every year, to improve your roster. But I can't sit here and say that CJ Stroud, there's like some sort of like organizational malpractice with what Nick Caserio has done this year. Not this year. It's not awesome, but it was good enough.
Yeah, it's not a year ago where you feel like, you didn't have enough depth and the offensive line wasn't good enough, and that contributed to a large part of the quarterback not being able to get it done. He had plenty. He didn't get it done. Cacerio said as much there. He echoed that CJ knows that he was not good enough on Sunday, and DeMeco Ryans was pretty clear that the turnovers were the reason they lost. So, nobody's shying away from the fact that it was CJ's fault that they lost that game on Sunday. Now, the overall, body of work and his season and how he did, I don't think it was a really good season. You're talking about a quarterback that finished, right outside the top 10 at best in a lot of categories. Like, this is a average to below average quarterback this year.
And here's Nick Caserio talking about, here's Nick Caserio talking about him having to bounce back.
It was hard, and I think anytime that you deal with difficult situations, adversity, it's just, in the end, you're the only one that can handle it and respond to it. And, our job as an organization is to support our players and give them the resources that they need and feel like they have a good environment to come to work. Look, I'd say players that come in this building love being here. They know what we're about. They know what DeMeco's about. They know what I'm about. So, in the end, we're just trying to win football games with the right people and, understand this league's hard. It's really hard. We're all going to have to deal with stuff. It's not easy, but, honestly, that's where you kind of get the joy, at least I do, is just in the fight, and just nothing's easy. Everything's earned. So, that's the beauty of everybody's got the same opportunity.
Someone let CJ know those last few sentences. It's not easy. It's going to be a fight. Sometimes it's really hard.
I think you brought up,
because sometimes he acts like it should be easier. But no, it's hard every week, especially for the quarterback.
I think you brought up a good point, and this is really kind of my pet peeve with this organization and when there is success, which would be considered mediocre in organizations that actually have higher standards. Like, if you're going to hold yourself to the standard that's been set by this organization since it started in 2002 and say we had the best 3-year stretch that this organization's had, you're not trying to be great, brother. Like, there's only been 4 teams since 2002 that haven't been to a conference championship. A lot of these teams in your division have been multiple times, like in recent history. So there was a time where it was kind of process over results for Cacerio. Like, don't sit here and like mention having more success for one of the most mediocre franchises in sports, which is what the Texans have been. They haven't been one of the worst. They're not the Browns, but when it comes to mediocrity, we've seen the numbers. Like, I don't think you should hang your hat on that. I don't think you should hold yourself to that standard. And that's kind of where I roll my eyes a little bit when I hear that kind of horn tooting. Congratulations, dude. Like, that's great. You went to the divisional round 3 years in a row. Great. Like, that's where you just you kind of gotta just wipe that away, and you gotta hold yourself to a higher standard.
You won 2 more games than you did the previous 2 years, and you were lower in the playoff seeding. Like, I get that you on the resume you can look at it and say, look what we did, and this is look at where we were and this is where we are. Like, that's nice, but a 3-year stretch of success for this franchise doesn't make it feel any better that you're sitting at home this week and not getting ready for Denver.
Exactly. And I think that's really what he's got to figure out. But I think he did all right. Cacerio this year. I actually do. They got to increase the standards. Now, the other question that was asked was the Joe Mixon situation. We'll get to that in a second. I'm a little bit confused by what exactly they're saying, but let's get some more.
There wasn't exactly a lot of clarity either. All they did was add to the mystery. The mystery is just different in a different mysterious way.
He was asked about contracts. He basically gave a generic answer, but I asked him about the importance of this year for CJ Stroud, from going to get the contract to the organization deciding if they want to give him the contract. This is what the GM had to say.
When a quarterback's on his rookie deal, we talk about it's probably easier to put a team around him. How critical is next year, not just for CJ to prove that he can be that guy, but for the organization to believe that he can be that guy and not turn the ball over in the divisional round?
I mean, every year you kind of start from scratch. And everybody is focused on individual improvement. So CJ's played a lot of good football, won a lot of games, done a lot of great things for this organization. And I think all of us are excited about the opportunity in front of us for the 26 season. It's a year-to-year league. I mean, that's where we're focused on the 2026 season, trying to put the best team together and hopefully put ourselves into a position that we can go out there and play pretty good football and, win a bunch of games. So that's where our focus is.
I mean, sure, CJ's done some good things, but how much of it's been recent?
I mean,
like just off the top of your head, when was the last, damn, good thing they had CJ that game?
Well, according to
Kansas City, right?
According to Nick, it was Kansas City. And let's not forget that in the second half, the offense did completely disappear. Now, they were able to take advantage of Andy Reid's mistake, but the offense had about 100 yards in the second half. So we said at the time, yeah, they don't win that game without CJ Stroud, but I mean, that's not like something to just massively hang your hat on. Could I interest you in a stat? Cause we often look at this, and I know most of these were road games, but if we're just talking about winning, this year, how many wins do you think CJ Stroud had against playoff teams? We're just doing playoff teams. How many wins do you think CJ Stroud had against playoff teams?
Off the top of my head, I think it's either 1 or 2.
He was 2-5 against playoff teams.
The 2 wins, the Chargers and the 49ers.
Yeah, so he was CJ Stroud this year against playoff teams was 2-5. He doesn't turn the ball over, is what we keep hearing. 11 of his 13 interceptions were on the road against playoff teams. That's when games are tougher. They're on the road and they're against good teams. So he threw 13 total interceptions. 11 of those interceptions were on the road against playoff teams. 9 of his 10 total turnovers since returning from injury were in the 3 road games that he played against playoff teams, at the Chargers, at Pittsburgh, and at New England. So 11 of 13 in 13 interceptions in 7 road games or 7 games against playoff teams. 13 in 7 games against playoff teams. Davis Mills, you know what his record was against playoff teams? 2-0. So and you hear, and we talked about it a lot leading up to the New England game. It was, well, New England's had an easy schedule. And New England's success is because they've had an easy schedule. And it's undeniable that they had an easy schedule. Well, all the success that the Texans are hanging their hat on and all the things that they're praising CJ Stroud about is in games against teams that aren't playoff-worthy teams. All but 2 of his interceptions were against playoff teams.
Yeah, the context of any CJ praise, you start putting holes in it real quick.
Yeah, and that's my thing. There is it's tough to look at and say this is just some sort of incredible body of work that CJ Stroud possesses, but Nick Caserio insists he's not going to put too much stock in what recently happened.
Yeah, look, if we want to go game by game, like we don't win a Kansas City game without CJ Stroud. I mean, so again, like that's one game. All right. Look, he'll be the first to tell you he didn't play well on Sunday. All right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he played well either. Like he knows that. So in the end, all right, got to learn from it. What can we do better? All right. And then we're moving forward. All right. I mean, see, look at his body of work. This guy's been a damn good quarterback in this league for 3 years. I mean, it's the truth. So, again, you wanted to look at everything in totality, and then every player will look at their situation, and it's always case by case.
I mean, the body of work is that he was really good 2 years ago. He was okay at times last year, and he was fine at times this year. And anytime he played a team with a pulse on defense, he didn't have a good game.
Yeah, the real body of work has been, and it's been that the seesaw, like 2023 was holding it down as this is what he is, and then we're slowly getting more here, and maybe there's like a little bit up, but I feel like we keep the what we saw in 2023 keeps getting weighed like heavily. And if that never happened, then I think we would have a clear picture. I look at him as a Sam Darnold type of quarterback at this point. I think he's a good Sam Darnold type of quarterback where if you're paying him $30 million or whatever Sam Darnold got, great, because you're going to be able to surround him perfectly. And it still might not be enough. He still might wet the bed in any given situation, but you can't look at CJ Stroud at this point and say you can't even really say he's Trevor Lawrence. Like at this point, like he's not. Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback right now. And if we're gonna talk about CJ Stroud and surroundings and stuff, like Trevor Lawrence went through 3 coaches. Like it looks like he's finally found one. And Trevor Lawrence's 2023 happens to have come in the most recent, and it's with the coach that he's with and the offensive coordinator he's going to be with until his career's over, likely. So like we can't go back to 2023. Bobby Slowick's not here. It's done. And you gotta open your eyes and just realize where it is. You still have a good team. You just don't have that guy at quarterback, which is fine. You figure it out.
You keep bringing up Sam Darnold. It'd be a miracle if he turned into Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's thrown 60 touchdowns in the past 2 seasons. It'd be a freaking miracle if he turned into Sam Darnold. And there's a chance he's worse than Sam Darnold.
Well, here's the thing on the chat real quick, because I think you just kind of show me the light.
Swarm.
Sean James says in his first 3 years, Elway went 27-13 and Stroud went 28-18 in the regular season. NFL plays more games now. Get the fuck out of here, Cacerio. Oh, so he's comparing total wins in 3 years? Jesus Christ. Wow.
I told you he was overly optimistic and positive.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you didn't know the Elway stat, bud.
No, but I think that you just kind of showed me the light, Cody, because I think we're having this conversation, and I think you're kind of driving me in the right direction as to how much like a bias can last despite what you see over a 2-year stretch. Because even me, who has respect for Sam Darnold, like there's still kind of a tone where I'm talking about him like he's the horseshit idiot that's seeing ghosts. That is basically a backup, like destined to be a journeyman backup quarterback. And the reality is, I think in the last 2 years, I don't think anyone's won more games than Sam Darnold, if I'm not mistaken. It would be hard to find too many who have.
I don't know if you heard a minute ago, wins are the most important stat.
Yeah, so he's won more games than anyone, and he's played at a good level. And because of that, but because of how bad his start was and the seeing ghosts and all that, I still have an undertone. And I think it's the same with CJ Stroud in that there was that 2023 season, and despite the fact we have a 2-year body of work that's just okay, we tend to kind of lean like that's some sort of possibility, and it's probably not. So I think that conversation just kind of showed me the light and kind of put in perspective.
Let's also put into context what Sam Darnold did. He walked into 2 brand new situations in back-to-back years, went out there, threw for over 4,000 yards. He threw for 60 touchdowns across 2 seasons. He got sacked 50 times in 2024. So there's not the sack excuse. He got sacked almost as many times as CJ Stroud did in 2024. It's like there's not that, oh, well, Stroud's offensive line. Minnesota overhauled their damn offensive line this year. It also didn't work, and their quarterback situation's worse. But, so he turned into Sam Darnold. They're playing this week if he's Sam Darnold. Right? They're playing for an AFC championship if he's Sam Darnold. Like, getting to Sam Darnold's now the goal. Because, again, the past 2 years, there have only been flashes of what 2023 was. There's not been any consistency that would show you to believe he's going to be an upper echelon quarterback. You don't have to be the best of the best to win every year, because the best guy doesn't win every year. More often than not, he's playing for it because Mahomes is there damn near every year. But you don't have to be the best guy every year to win it. Certainly not when you've got a defense to the level that the Texans have. We expect it to be pretty darn good next year. You don't have to be the best guy in the league to win the Super Bowl.
Let's talk about that O-line, a.k.a. some Cody Stoots porn, some O-line talk from Nick Caserio. Nick Caserio diving deep into the O-line. Cody might disappear for a few minutes, but he'll be back. Hopefully he washes his hands.
Probably the big wholesale change or overhaul, was the offensive line. We talked about that, different points. We talked about it in October as well, because it kind of coincided with the Cam trade and that. But, in going back to the spring, D'Amico and I both felt we would have a pretty competitive group. We felt that it would be improved. In the end, we end up with like one player that started who had, I know Titus played multiple positions, but Titus was really the only player. The rest of the offensive line was a number of new players or changing spots. Overall, I'd say that group certainly improved. I think Cole did a phenomenal job with that group, him and Coach Yenzer. And we ended up kind of like we talked about a little bit earlier, using everybody, and eventually it kind of settled down once Tay was able to kind of settle in at left tackle. Tay played really good football. I'd say he made some young football player mistakes, and there's some things technique-wise that he can certainly improve. We felt once Trent got healthy that Trent would go out there and play pretty good football, and he did. I'd say, Jake Andrews gave us a good level of play. He probably played, honestly, hurt. He probably played on one leg for about half the year. Which kind of speaks to his toughness. And then Ed had a good year. He probably had his best year. He's a free agent, kind of have to see how that goes. So, overall, certainly improved. There's always things that we can do better, but we got contributions from everybody. Blake had to go out there and start against the Chargers, played pretty good football. J. Pat, we've always kind of viewed him as a swing guy, kind of inside, sort of that 6th, 7th offensive lineman. That's kind of the role that he had. So we have some players who will be free agents in that group. We have some players under contract for next year. I'm sure there'll be some different players in that group next year, but we also have some guys that, under contract that are coming back.
Sorry, put that away.
Oh, my God. All right. What did you make of the breakdown of the O-line?
All right, a couple of things. I thought it was interesting that he felt like they had a ramp up as Ursary settled down, which is, I would think, if you believe that, or if you also saw that this season, that's a great sign that Ariante Ursary is a guy you could trust to the highest level going forward at left tackle. That was the biggest thing when you get rid of Laramie Tunsil. What's the future of left tackle? They draft Ariante Ursary. Initially, it doesn't look like they're going to give him that opportunity, and then they just say, okay, here we go. Throw him out there and let's figure it out. And he did. And he ended up ending the season really well. And I have no concern about left tackle going forward. So you got that for Ursary. I thought that was probably the biggest thing. The way he talks about pending free agents is funny. Like, Ed Ingram's going to get paid a lot of money. They're probably not going to pay him, would be my guess, unless Ingram's taking a well below market deal. And then I like how they tell them themselves. The Patriots were famous for this, hiding an injury. Jake Andrews wasn't on the injury report all year long. He played on one leg. Like, the Patriots hid Tom Brady injuries and other player injuries all the time. And here we are telling ourselves at a press conference that our center played with one leg all year long.
Well, I didn't tell about all injuries, and we knew this was going to be asked.
Also, one more. Them acting like they knew Trent Brown was going to be good and get healthy and be good is hilarious to me.
So stupid. That is just so stupid, dude. Like, that is just like that is just
That would be like paying your rent with scratch-offs.
They thought Blake Fisher was going to be good enough, and they thought Cam Robinson was going to be good enough, and they were going to be able to figure something out. And maybe Ursary worked out at right tackle. That they did not know that Trent Brown was going to do that. That was as pleasant of a surprise you could possibly have.
Trent was quite literally, at best, the fourth tackle option at right tackle because
that's like saying we knew Tom Brady was going to be awesome.
Yeah, because if you knew Trent Brown was going to do that, you'd have paid him more than $1.5 million or whatever they paid him. You know,
that was
yeah. So that was one of those like, you kind of stretching the truth here, you know.
Well, let's hear him on Joe Mixon. You knew he was going to be asked about this. There's the full Cacerio Joe Mixon explanation or lack thereof.
So as it pertains to Joe, here's what I would say. It was a very unique situation. I don't think anybody really had any clarity, honestly, from the start of the year until now. I'd say Joe worked very, very hard to try to get himself ready to play football. It just never manifested itself and came to fruition. So probably have an opportunity to kind of see where he is in the offseason relative to next year. But again, it was as unique a situation and injury as I've been associated with. And it's just, I don't want to call it a freak thing, but it's just kind of a freak thing. And Joe worked really hard, put his best foot forward. It didn't work out. We haven't seen Joe in a little bit, so I think at some point we'll see him and then we'll be able to evaluate kind of where he is. And then based on the information, we'll kind of see what the status is moving forward.
Do you want to have him back if you can?
Yeah, I mean, he's under contract, so we'll evaluate his situation, and then, we'll see where it goes from there.
With what you know now about his situation, would you expect that he'd be able to play next season?
It's honestly hard to answer that right now because we haven't really seen him in a little bit. So at some point we'll see him. We'll probably get a better idea, maybe do some follow-up, examinations and get more information. Once we have more information, I think we'll better be able to make a better assessment. He didn't do anything off the field. It wasn't like he was riding like a snowmobile or anything like that. I'd say it was just more of a medical condition or situation that just it really didn't improve maybe as much as everybody would have hoped. I mean, I'm not trying to evade the question. I think that's the reality of the situation. So he didn't jump off a building, he wasn't cliff diving or anything like that. He wasn't doing anything irresponsible. It was a freak thing. Honestly, I've never seen it. Just the condition.
Hope that situation will improve before next summer.
We'll see. I mean, believe me, I'm not smart enough to be a doctor, so I'll leave that up to the medical experts. And once we going back to some of the earlier questions, as we get a little bit more clarity, more information, then we'll kind of see where we are moving forward.
So, not snowmobile, not jumping off the roof, not cliff diving. We know he didn't shoot himself.
Yeah, he didn't shoot himself. That did not happen. I can promise you that. I can 100% unequivocally say he did not shoot himself. And I don't know what dumbass came up with that. That's just stupid.
Freak medical thing.
Because they don't really say anything.
Well, the more secrecy they kept, the more speculation it invited.
Yeah, for sure.
I would the fact that he doesn't even know what the status for Joe Mixon is.
He's gone. He's
in 2026. It makes it pretty clear to me that they're getting rid of Joe Mixon. They're going to save $7 million of cap space by getting rid of him. And if this guy's foot was so badly injured, he was injured 5 months before training camp started, or 4 months, 5 months before training camp started. It never got help for him to play football at any time in 2025. How would you ever bet on him being a piece that you can count on in 2026 when you're trying to go further than you've ever been?
Nobody would do that.
It seems to me it's very apparent and very clear they're moving on from Joe Mixon.
And they should.
Absolutely.
And they should at this point. So, yeah, the Mixon thing it was weird from the beginning, but I think we can say goodbye to Joe Mixon. Bye-bye, Joe. We hardly knew you.
Swarm.
Sean James 6944 says Elway 0-2 in first 2 playoff games, then Super Bowl year 4.
Oh, great! So that's what we have to look forward to. That's what he was talking about. He's like, he's better than Elway. So Elway lost the Super Bowl in year 4. CJ's going to win the Super Bowl in year 4.
I'm convinced. I'm actually convinced by this Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold kind of shift. Where they're in the 30 millions. I think if we're looking at CJ Stroud as a $30 million quarterback, I think you can get down with that. You can get down with the 30s. Like, I think Baker makes 33. Darnold makes 36. Like, maybe we can get down with that.
Can I put the pause on any conversation about how much money CJ makes? Because the 2026 season decides if he's even on the team again.
Maybe. I mean, you don't want to be in like quarterback hell, but yeah, you could be.
I'm in quarterback hell. It's a different kind of hell. It's a different circle of quarterback hell. They have a franchise guy. It's not a franchise guy.
Double AGG 1913 says, feel like Titus is returning. Is he a right tackle or left guard?
My guess would be that they will let how the free agency and draft plays out dictate where they play Titus.
I think he's both. I actually think that versatility is valuable, where he can bump to the right side, and I think Titus is like a super offensive line. Like, he became the ultimate example of versatility on the offensive line. I don't think he's like Pro Bowl caliber, but I think he's good at either role, and figure that out. ESG Soccer says, missed a few episodes. These press conferences are 3 alarm fires. What JCU boys do best, self-preservation. I'm officially worried.
ESG's not a big Cacerio fan. He's not a big anything fan, I don't think, right now.
Yeah, he's very upset. So I asked Nick Caserio about Nick Caley too. The hiring and whether he expects him to be back. This is kind of a direct answer. I think it's safe to say we know who will be calling plays for the Texans next year.
From Bobby Slowick last year and went to Nick Cayley. Do you feel validated in that decision? And is Nick Cayley, are you comfortable in saying he's going to be calling plays in 2026?
Yeah, I would anticipate Nick being here next year. I think Nick learned a lot. First opportunity as a play caller. I'd say offensively, probably the last 2 to 3 months of the year, played pretty good football and did a lot of good things. So there was growth and improvement. There's always areas that we can improve and get better. And that's what, D'Amico mentioned the other day. Next couple weeks right after the season, was kind of looking at everything, go through, the coaching staff, go through other aspects of the staff. Is there anything that we have to do? All right, then we'll look at some things schematically, start to go through the self-scout, try to figure out, all right, what are some of the things that we did well?
Yes, he's back.
Yeah, he's
should people be surprised by that?
No.
I don't think so either. I'm just small snapshot of reaction to it. I was surprised the amount of people that were surprised Nick Cayley was coming back.
Yeah, that would have been I think that would have been more of an indictment on CJ Stroud than anything, honestly. Like that, you're a coach killer at that point. If you're getting the new OC and having to kick the can down the road. I also don't think CJ is really in a point right now of like really demanding anything or trying to figure anything out. Sean on the chat says, or try to figure out anything organizationally. Sean on the chat says, talk of Stroud and money now reserved for Alpha Aaron.
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
What about him, dude? Like, they asked about Will Anderson, and Nick Caserio literally just like, he pretty much says, I'm not going to talk about contracts. And then Aaron, of course, has his record ready, so he wants to get the Will Anderson question in so he can, like, tag the agent or whatever. And then the question gets asked a third time about Will Anderson, and I'm just like, dude, we get 25 minutes like every 3 months with this guy. Like, we gotta do something. Like, someone asked about Brevin Jordan, and I'm just like, what is this? Like, where are we going here? But like, that was funny, the contracts. But yeah, I would imagine that Aaron will be all over the contract situation when it drops. He'll be the one to follow when it comes to that info. But he just zombied out. Well, Rappaport or Schefter, I'm sorry.
He's definitely going to follow somebody.
But yeah, it's just funny that he said to Anderson, and then Aaron has his, hey, bro, what about Will Anderson? He said he wants to be here forever. And then Cacerio's like, yeah, pretty much the same thing I just said.
Yeah. Cacerio never talks about guys' contracts that are on the squad. I mean, if they pick him up and pick up the fifth-year options, which are no-brainers, obviously, pick up the fifth-year options. He'll talk about it at the pre-draft press conference, but he never like, oh, we're going to sign that guy. Oh, we're going to do that. No, it's never. Certainly not 3 days after the season's over.
No,
something very rudimentary and formulaic too. Like everybody picks up the fifth year.
We focus a lot on the quarterback. Do you think you get something done with Will right now, though? Like, would you? I would try at this point.
I mean, I think the conversation from Will Anderson's people is pretty simple.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's at this point he's kind of proven it. So, like, you got to get it done, right?
Yeah, I would walk in there and say, hey, remember what you did for Derek Stingley? Like, I'm better at what I do than Stingley does at what he does. And I'm younger. So pay me.
Yeah, and they don't need to worry about like how CJ reacts that Will's like CJ at least has the self-awareness that he knows that he's not the contract's not even a thing now, right? I would think even Mulligetta knows that.
I mean, I'd still ask the question if I was CJ's agent. And then
how does that go? How do you ask that question?
Who am I? Am I Mulligetta or am I Nick Caserio?
I don't know. It'd be Mulligetta.
Hey, we're talking about body of work here. All these guys got paid after year 3. They didn't have anything close to the body of work that CJ has. Offensive Rookie of the Year, taking you to the playoffs the past 3 years. Talk about wins being an important stat. He's one of the winningest quarterbacks to start his career. We'd love to get something done here. And that's when Cacerio hangs up the phone.
Hey, you said John Elway, man. You didn't mention John Elway, Nick.
Yeah.
Kyle Brinkmeyer says, is Gerard Johnson gone? Stroud has only regressed. I really, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know what they're going to do there.
I do believe there's going to be staff changes, and I do believe you could look at quarterback coach as one of those places.
Speaking of places, Spanky's the place to be this Friday. We got the TriStar tickets. We got the TriStar experiences. We got the TriStar baseball giveaways. TriStar show next Saturday. We'll be there. We want you to be there. We're going to be ripping some cards, figuring some stuff out, basically just a little bit of a hangout. But we're going to our home, Spanky's, this Friday. Spanky's gatherings don't stop when the offseason begins. Still plenty of foods, still plenty of stuff to talk about. So join us at Spanky's this Friday.
The buffalo chicken wrap is new to the menu. I don't know if it's a long-term feature for the menu, but I enjoyed it greatly. I've already had it multiple times. I'm excited to have it again, and I would recommend it to you. If you don't want pizza on Friday, the buffalo chicken wrap at Spanky's is fantastic.
Yep. Also, this is the schedule at TriStar. They also have a bunch of cards, a bunch of exhibits, all that, but we'll be giving away experiences before, most likely this Friday, and we look forward to seeing you there. We got tickets at Spanky's this week. If you want to go, we got you covered.
Tons of people from the entertainment world, the Karate Kid crew, the Sandlot cast, Charlie Sheen, and then a bunch of football players, Jalen Noel, Woody Marks, Henry Toto, Nico Collins, current Texans. Look at Cam Smith hanging over there, maybe one of the big future pieces for the Astros. So Sunday's kind of your baseball day. Looking at that. Saturday's going to be your entertainment and football day. It's when we're going to be out there Saturday. But if you get a free ticket from us, you can go any of the 3 days. Okay? You want to go on Friday or you want to go Sunday, you get a free ticket from us. You can go any of those days. So
see you there.
We'll see you Friday. If you can't make it to Spanky's and you really want to go, send me an email. I'll figure out a way to get you the ticket.
Now, here's a question. Did Nick Caserio do enough to surround CJ Stroud appropriately? Here was Nick being asked about that.
In the end, we're trying to do what's best for the team. Like, this program's not about one individual, so we're not building a team based on one person, one facet of anything. We're trying to look at the big picture.
I understand that, but that's an important part.
Yeah, it doesn't affect, how we look at the team. So what do we need to do to build the best team possible, put the best team together, and then give ourselves the opportunity to compete on a weekly basis, which we've certainly done that. We put ourselves in a good position.
I don't think that at this point, CJ Stroud is someone that you just want to completely build around. You want to make the team as good as possible, but you don't want to, it's almost like, I hate to use this example, but I think it's a decent example. I want you to grade the example at this point. And this is obviously an extreme comparison. And this might be the biggest stray that CJ Stroud has gotten. And I'm not trying to be ridiculous. But you obviously want to make the player comfortable. You obviously want to put the best team around him. But I go back to the 2022 draft, and you can make a case Derek Stingley didn't necessarily fit in to Lovie Smith's defense, but you drafted Derek Stingley because he was the best player and he had the best long-term potential. But you didn't just say, oh, well, Sauce Gardner fits more into what Lovie does, so we'll take him. They took Derek Stingley. I think it's kind of the same way with CJ Stroud. Like, I don't like, there's certain things like some wide receivers can play no matter what, but I don't think that at this point it's, well, this system fits him or whatever. I think we've gotten past that point where he just needs to put up or shut up. So I don't think they're like all in thinking long-term about building around CJ Stroud. He's got to catch up to them. They don't need to catch up to him at this point. They've done a lot of good for him.
Oh, you can't see it. I'll give you a B.
Okay, thank you.
It's good. It's good. I decided like today, last night, as I kind of think about how I want them to approach the offseason, you have to QB proof this roster. You have to do everything you can to QB proof this roster. When the floor like Sunday exists and the ceiling is a total unknown week to week, you have to QB proof the roster. So do everything you can to QB proof the roster, because if you can get to that level and the quarterback still fails you, then you can move on. You can take it somewhere else. You can do something else at the quarterback spot. But this offseason is about QB proofing the roster. Defense got to be excellent still. Got to give them as much as you can, but make it so that anybody could walk in there, take the snaps, and make it work.
Cacerio was also questioned about the playoff and not doing enough. I thought this was interesting. Here was Nick Caserio being asked about that.
It's a combination of things, make sure we got enough players, we're doing some things schematically, or there's some things that have popped up in those games. So again, you look at those games, you look at other games as well, you look around the league, what are some teams doing, what are some things you might be able to incorporate. So again, offense has really never been D'Amico and I have never sat in our office and said, like, well, our offense is a concern. Like, what do we got to do? Like, got to play better. There's some things that we can do better. So try to build a good team, try to get good players in here with the right mentality and the right mindset. I guess Nico Collins isn't a good enough player. So, maybe we can find a player better than Nico Collins. I don't know. So we'll try to do the best we can, try to bring good players in this building, and try to put together a good team that gives us a chance to compete, on each Sunday.
I just like I was talking to JA about it because I guess his column yesterday and our back and forth. We probably texted like 15, 20 minutes. And he's my boy. But it was basically like if the Texans don't ignore the offensive side of the ball, they'll have the same result as this year. That's crazy to me. Like they did not ignore the offensive side of the ball. And I actually, there's some things that you can point to and say they didn't get right, but I just don't agree with that. Like I don't know, man. Like I live in I guess it's just different worlds. Like there's always different opinions in sports, but a lot of times it just feels like the goalpost is moved for the quarterback no matter what. And maybe it's just about having that relationship and maintaining that relationship or whatever. But there have been years where I've said, okay, Nick Caserio didn't do enough, or Nick Caserio effed this up, or the quarterback doesn't have enough around him. This is organizational malpractice. I don't know how you can watch this and think that this was one of those instances with how things went down 2 weeks ago. And it's just not really, it's not really something that I fathomed or that I saw. I thought that they actually did an okay job of giving enough. And it's like, well, they focused too much on the defense. Not really. Like this year, this offseason was all offense. Wasn't all great, but it was good enough to win. Like if you watch the games, like it was good enough to win. They didn't lose that game because they didn't have enough receivers. Like a lot of the balls weren't even like catchable balls. I don't agree with that, but I do understand that there's like different approaches based on maybe, I don't know, like.
Could they have done more? Absolutely, but they didn't neglect the offense.
Well, I think they did enough to be in this game for sure. Like the defense was all-time great. Nico Collins got hurt. You invested in Christian Kirk. Yeah, he sucked. He did have 144 yards the week before, by the way. You drafted Jaden Higgins, who I think was probably a top 5, top 6 wide receiver in the draft. You got Noel, who we liked. You added Berrios and Watson, which whatever. But yeah, Xavier Hutchinson got better. Like I didn't look at this and say there weren't enough. What I mean, did they beat the San Francisco 49ers without Nico Collins? I kept hearing about that. Like, did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it did happen. Okay, so that did happen, and we did witness that. Like, I just don't know how the goalpost is getting moved for CJ at this point. Like, I would, if Nick Caserio needed to be shit on right now, we'd be shitting on him. I just don't know how we get to that point. Maybe it's like, oh, you want to have a good rapport with the quarterback, and there's like certain element of like carrying the water for him, but it's just not water that I want to carry at this point. I would have carried the water for Deshaun Watson in 2017 and 20, like through 20 before all the off-field stuff. Like I would have easily defended what happened, but I'm not doing that with CJ.
I cannot wait to just randomly one day send this out of context without any context.
I guess Nico Collins isn't a good enough player. So, I mean, maybe we can find a player better than Nico Collins. I don't know.
That tickled me. That was one of the like, oh, you think the team wasn't good enough? I guess we got to get better than Nico Collins.
Yeah. Yeah. And James R saying Schultz was out. Who gives a fuck? Like that wasn't why they lost, because Schultz was out. Like, what are we doing here? Like, there's going to be injuries all the time. Like San Francisco won a playoff game without an array of guys. Like, why are we doing this? Yeah. It's just what happens.
Yeah. New England had guys banged up too.
Yeah. It just wasn't, you weren't asking for a lot. You weren't asking for him to like carry you. It wasn't like some sort of shootout. On the chat,
Swarm.
Omar says, I don't know if y'all covered this, but which offensive staff will be gone, and when do you expect that to happen? It will happen within the next week. We don't really know who.
I'd be surprised if there's not a adjustment to the quarterback room.
Then we have Kyle Brinkmeyer, who says interior line and RB picks in the draft, please.
Not going to hurt my feelings with that. I'd like for them to add a free agent running back and draft a running back and just put together a badass room. Just a room with a bunch of different guys that have a bunch of different skill sets that on any given day could be the best running back on your team.
ESG Soccer says that is the quote that freaks me out. Y'all haven't talked about the offense being Bonds, JCU doing the straw man saying, you're saying Nico is bad. Nah.
I mean, there were definitely times where the offense wasn't good this year. But how much of that was, oh, the offensive system's broken, the talent's not there? Like, I don't think that was the case. Once they figured it out and they had some okay moments, there were still times where we're watching the quarterback and it's like, wow, he's missing this throw, he's missing that throw, he needs to hit that. I mean, how many times do we bring up, oh, that was a Trevor Lawrence throw. That was a throw where Trevor Lawrence, when he was bad, he wasn't making that throw. That was happening a bunch. And then the playoffs, like, they had enough outside of the turnovers.
Yeah, I would agree. Is there anything else that we need from Cacerio? The 2025 turnover prone stuff, I really don't care. He did say he's happy with the wide receiver room. And he also brought up something that I think we need to kind of make a point of. Here is Nick Caserio talking about the wide receiver room.
That receiver room, I mean, if you didn't do anything, which, I'm not saying like we will or won't, but if you didn't do anything, it's a pretty good room. Hig, Noel, Nico, Hutch. Nobody talks about Hutch, but nobody's improved more from the time he was drafted to where he is now. He's become one of our most dependable players. Talked about Tank here a little bit. I mean, Justin Watson's under contract. I mean, Kirk's a free agent. We'll see how that goes. Berrios is a free agent, but, I mean, it's a pretty good room.
The Justin Watson throw-in was rich.
I think Berrios was interesting, too.
I think he's just, hey, Berrios a free agent, and he's not coming back. Okay.
I do look forward to I do look forward to seeing what Noel and Higgins look like coming back.
Oh,
I think
sure.
I think there's possibility there.
Cacerio went out of his way 2 different times to mention that there should be more offensive opportunities for Jalen Noel.
Let's hear him talk about the AFC South as a whole, because that's the other part. It's kind of the Dan Campbell, it's going to be hard to get back here type of vibe. The AFC South is definitely getting better.
Jacksonville, I think, has done an awesome job. I mean, Tony, James, Liam did a great job this year. They showed it. I mean, I think Tennessee is going to be much improved. I think Coach Sal's a hell of a coach. Coach Steichen and the Colts, I mean, they've shown year in and year out they can compete with anybody. So, I mean, we're going to have a work cut out for us in the division, but that's why this league, when you go 1 through 32, the gap between 1 and 32, it's not as big as the numbers suggest. So, I mean, all of us, you got to embrace it. You got to embrace it, and it's okay to fail, but, you got to pick yourself back up and, try to come up with some answers and solutions. So that's how we approach it.
I think it's like another way of saying this opportunity is an opportunity that doesn't present itself very often, and we kind of missed the opportunity. So it's a year-to-year league, so just because you got this close this year doesn't matter, and things aren't always going to shape out this way. And I think that was basically his way of saying it, and I agree with him. I do think the AFC South is going to be much improved.
No doubt about that. And I mean, they could be a whole lot better. The Colts don't worry me because their quarterback situation's unsettled. But if Bob Saleh gets things settled down in Tennessee, and I mean the latest rumor I saw is they're trying to get Brian Daboll to be the offensive coordinator. It's like, okay, that's a great coordinator to add to Cam Ward and find out about him. Obviously, Jacksonville's going to be really tough. I also was laughing because it took me a minute to realize he was talking about Tony Baselli. When he said Tony about Jacksonville, I thought it was about Tony Khan. It's like, the wrestling guy didn't do anything over there. What are you talking about, Cacerio? He's talking about Baselli because Baselli runs football or whatever. So that made me laugh for me. I was like, what does he know about Tony Khan?
So it's no secret that Tony Baselli runs the show. Cacerio's not even fronting anymore.
Yeah, Tony Baselli hired the pipsqueak numbers guy, and Baselli doesn't have to go to the microphone. They send the little kid out there to talk about the numbers and the this and that. You know what he said the other day at the end of the Jaguar season? People overrate sacks. Pressure is way more important. It's like, okay. Thanks, numbers guy.
They did have a good defense, though.
Yeah, that's some nice players.
Oscar says, do you think B.O.B. would have made CJ cry?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, would he even have to say anything? Like what? I don't know. Like what? Sometimes it looks like he's like really upset on the sidelines without, I think, anyone even saying anything to him.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien definitely would have had a couple of teapot moments with CJ.
Yeah. Do you think you would have benched him this week?
Probably. O'Brien comes off as
Mallett's obviously different.
O'Brien comes off to me as a little bit more willing to be overly aggressive to try to win an individual football game. I mean, there's the famous almost fought Brock Osweiler at halftime story, which is a good one.
Does B.O.B. bench CJ? That's a good question. I think that's a good question.
I think he does.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think there's I think we can agree. And we hope you'll join us at Spanky's this Friday. I think we can agree that there's an effort and there's an approach to not say too much to upset CJ Stroud. I think the feelings are back of mind with how they approach the whole thing. I mean, we've seen him at times where he's been really down. I think that is kind of like an approach with them. I'm not saying it might be right, but it does feel like there's something there.
Well, cool. I hope they find somebody that can come in and be the bad guy and actually make him a better football player.
Well, it's $1 million question, or $50 million question, or $30 million question. Who knows? Appreciate everyone for rolling through.
We're not asking any questions about his money until he plays a good, full, consistent year of football.
Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.